Ta-da! I love drawing and I love making up stories, and I think you do too, because stories are one of those things that makes us human. I want to draw a baby shark today. Yeah, this baby shark is not one of those regular baby sharks, so I think you're gonna like this story. This baby shark's name was Bubbles, and he was no regular shark, he was really something. He was living in the Atlantic Ocean. It was beautiful waters and beautiful underwater scenery where he lived. Bubbles loved everything about life, and about life underwater. He was a really active boy. He couldn't sit on one place, he was a handful, alright. He was living in a very loving family, but his parents were always worried about him because they were scared something bad was gonna happen to him. He was uncontrollable, this boy. He was just like so fast, he was swimming all around. But yeah, there was that little problem. His parents were really worried. They didn't know what to do with him. Bubbles was always in baby wraps because he was still a baby, not because his parents wanted to tie him or something. They just didn't want their baby to get cold. They were gonna remove the baby wraps as soon as Bubbles grows up. But Bubbles was really impatient because the wrap was kind of limiting his movements, and he was a really active boy, so he felt like he had to move all the time, all around. He was already one of the fastest swimmers in the ocean, but he still wanted to reach his full potential as soon as possible. And he had a feeling that moment was coming soon. It was just one of those regular days. Bubbles was hanging around as usual. He was swimming all around, he was hiding in the reef, he was just being himself. Suddenly, there was a ruckus. All the fish and other creatures underwater were in panic. They were running all around. Nobody knew what was going on. And it was the Finns patrol. They were chasing some thieves. And our Bubbles was right there. The thieves suddenly passed by Bubbles, and the patrol guys were falling behind, and Bubbles started chasing the thieves. Yeah, he was swimming so fast. He was all in wraps, and it was like restricted motion, but he was still faster than any of the patrol guys. Patrol guys were really behind by now, and Bubbles was catching up with the thieves, and they swam into a dark cave and disappeared, and Bubbles behind them. His parents came back home from work, unaware of anything. They didn't see Bubbles. He was missing. They suddenly had the strangest feeling. They knew this time there was something really wrong. Inside the cave, it was really dark, and Bubbles thought he got lost. There were a lot of holes that he could go through, but he didn't know which way the thieves went. And he was in the dark because there was no light in the cave. As he got deeper inside the cave, the light got really dimmer and dimmer, and suddenly it was pitch black. Bubbles was kind of getting scared. He stopped swimming and started to listen to the weird sounds coming from inside the cave.
Ha ha ha! Are you chasing us, you little rascal?
Bubbles was cornered and he didn't know what to do. He was just a little baby. And those thieves looked really dangerous. They were like these big sharks. Bubbles was so scared for the first time in his life. He was like this really courageous shark, but still, this time was different. He was away from home and he really missed mommy and daddy. For the first time, he thought, maybe I should have listened to my parents. Maybe I should have stayed home this time. The thieves were chasing Bubbles inside the cave, Bubbles was swimming so fast, he was swimming faster than any other day in his life. But the thieves were catching up with Bubbles, and he just hit on a rock and his safety pin fell off. As soon as his safety pin fell off, his baby wraps loosened and eventually came off. Bubbles was swimming faster than any other creature in the ocean right now. He was going through that hole and coming out of the other one. He started to gain back his confidence and he was almost like playing with those thieves now, but suddenly he had nowhere to go. He was stuck in a section of the cave and the thieves were right in front of him.
This is the end of the road for you, little fella,
said one of the thieves.
Yeah, you have nowhere left to go,
said the other.
This thief sounded really funny. Normally Bubbles would laugh at something like this, but
he was in no mood to laugh. He was really scared. The thieves grabbed Bubbles and they started tying him up with his own baby wrap so that he wouldn't run away. There was a sudden flash of light inside the cave, and the voice said,
"Hold it right there."
Yes, it was the Finns patrol, and it was the captain's voice. They caught the thieves and freed Bubbles from his baby wraps. Bubbles was so happy. He was relieved. "How did you find me?" he asked. And the captain said,
"From your safety pin. We found it on the floor and we tracked you down. Good job, kiddo. But it was really dangerous. Never do anything like that again."
When the patrol took Bubbles back home, his parents thought he was in some kind of trouble. Yeah, he was, but not that kind of trouble. So they talked and talked for hours. His parents were shocked and amazed with all that's happened. Everybody learned a lot of great lessons that day. His parents decided to stop worrying all the time for Bubbles and being so protective. Bubbles promised he would never do anything like that again, anything that's dangerous, and he would never leave home without letting his parents know where he's going. Finally, the captain of the Finns patrol realized that they need some fresh blood in the team. So he offered Bubbles, with his parents' permission, a position in the search and rescue team. He promised he would watch out for Bubbles and Bubbles would have a great place to release all that energy he has and for the good of their community. From that day on, everybody called him Bubble Wrap because of his great story. We love great stories and we love drawing.